Imagine this. A young, bright-eyed black woman named Aaliyah had just landed her dream job as a flight attendant. At 25, she was full of ambition, grace, and a deep love for aviation. She had worked hard, long hours in training, sleepless nights studying flight protocols, all to earn her wings with one of the world's most prestigious airlines. Her heart raced with excitement as she boarded her very first international flight, wearing her crisp uniform with pride. It felt like the beginning of a beautiful journey. But high above the clouds, something happened that would change everything. During her scheduled break mid-flight, Aaliyah quietly stepped into the crew area and took out a small container of food she'd packed from home. Due to allergies and health concerns, she always brought her own meals, something she'd disclosed during training and had never had an issue with. As she took her first bite, a senior crew member spotted her and stopped cold. With a disapproving glare, they stormed over, snatched the container from Aaliyah's hands without a word, and tossed it into the trash. Right in front of everyone, gasps echoed from nearby passengers. Aaliyah sat frozen, her eyes wide with shock, her pride crushed in an instant. "Why did you do that?" she asked, her voice shaking. The crew member stared her down and replied coldly, "We have standards here. That's not professional." The moment was brutal, embarrassing, and sadly, it was just the beginning. Trying to stay composed despite the burning humiliation, Aaliyah quietly returned to her seat in the crew area. She could feel her cheeks still hot, her heart pounding. She tried to breathe and brush it off. Maybe it was just a misunderstanding. Maybe it would all blow over. But it didn't. Within minutes, she noticed the shift in energy. Whispers between crew members, quick glances in her direction. It was clear something was brewing. Then came the second blow. Another senior crew member, someone Aaliyah had never even spoken to before, approached her with a cold, formal tone. "You need to come with me," they said, leading her to the back of the cabin. There, away from the passengers, but still in view of the crew, she was accused of violating airline policy. Apparently, eating unauthorized food on board was a serious offense. Aaliyah was stunned. "I have food allergies," she explained, trying to keep her voice steady. "During training, I was told I could bring my own meal if needed. I followed the rules." But no one was listening. The crew member pulled out a notepad and wrote her up for insubordination, claiming she had acted unprofessionally and refused to follow instructions. That report, she was told, would be sent directly to the airline's corporate office. She wasn't just being disciplined, she was being targeted. Passengers began to notice the tension. One, sitting nearby, quietly took out their phone and started recording. By the time the plane touched down, Aaliyah's world was already unraveling. Just minutes after the flight touched down, Aaliyah's phone buzzed. The screen flashed with a message from HR. "Please report to the corporate office immediately." Still in her uniform, physically drained and emotionally shattered, Aaliyah made her way to the airline's headquarters in silence. Her heart raced with anxiety, but she held on to the hope that she'd be given a chance to explain her side. That someone, somewhere, would listen. She was escorted into a sleek, glass-walled meeting room. Everything about it felt cold and impersonal. She barely had time to sit before the door opened and the airline CEO walked in, flanked by 2 HR managers. No greetings, no questions, no discussion. The CEO placed a white envelope on the table. "You're being let go," he said bluntly. "Your behavior on board does not align with our brand standards." Aaliyah blinked, confused. I don't understand. I was just eating the food I brought. I didn't break any rules." But the CEO didn't care. "We've reviewed the incident. It's final. No investigation, No interview. No context. Just a swift and merciless termination. Aaliyah sat frozen, watching everything she had worked for disappear in an instant, not because of anything she had done wrong, but because someone else had decided she didn't belong. But what the CEO didn't realize, as he walked out of that room, was that the real reckoning was already beginning. And it was happening online. A storm was coming, and it had Aaliyah's name on it. Remember the passenger who quietly filmed part of the confrontation on their phone? That single 30-second clip would go on to change everything. Later that night, the video surfaced on TikTok, and within hours, it spread like wildfire. People were stunned. The footage clearly showed a senior crew member snatching Aaliyah's food container and tossing it into the trash while she sat in shock, trying to explain herself. Her voice was calm but visibly shaken as she was scolded in front of passengers. The internet was quick to react. Within hours, hashtags like Justice for Aaliyah, Airline Racism, and Fly with Respect began trending on TikTok, Twitter, now X, and Instagram. Influencers, former flight attendants, and even celebrities began reposting the clip, calling out the airline for blatant discrimination and public humiliation. Activists demanded transparency. People who had never met Aaliyah felt her pain, and they were angry. "Why is a black woman being fired for eating her lunch?" one post read. "This is more than policy, this is prejudice." By the next morning, the airline's social media pages were a war zone. Thousands of comments poured in by the minute, demanding justice, asking for Aaliyah to be reinstated, and vowing to boycott the airline altogether. Some passengers even posted videos canceling their upcoming flights. And the airline? Complete silence, no statement, no apology, no acknowledgement. But in today's digital world, silence speaks volumes. And this time, it spoke of guilt, fear, and a rapidly growing public relations disaster. Under massive public pressure, the airline finally broke its silence. But instead of offering accountability, they released a carefully worded statement that only made things worse. They claimed Aaliyah had violated internal policy, yet when reporters and the public demanded specifics, they came up empty. No clear policy, no written guidelines, no explanation for why a young woman was publicly shamed and fired over a home-packed lunch. The so-called policy violation was nothing more than an excuse, and people saw right through it. Then, Aaliyah finally broke her silence. In a raw, emotional video posted to Instagram and YouTube, she told her story. How she had dreamed of flying since she was a little girl, how hard she'd worked to earn her wings, how her family cheered for her when she got the job, and how she was stripped of her dignity over something so small, so personal, and so unnecessary. The video went viral. Over 20 million views in just 3 days. Soon after, a well-known civil rights attorney reached out and offered to represent her pro bono. The airline, now trapped under the weight of legal pressure and public fury, issued a formal apology, offered Aaliyah her job back, and placed the CEO on temporary leave, pending an internal investigation. But Aaliyah? She chose a different path. She declined the job offer. Instead, she joined a nonprofit dedicated to fighting racial discrimination at work, and launched her own YouTube channel to tell real stories like hers. Aaliyah's story became more than a headline. It became a movement. Well, the next time someone tells you one small act doesn't matter, remember Aaliyah. She stood tall in the face of injustice, and thanks to one passenger's courage to press record, the truth came to light. If you think this kind of story needs to be heard more, hit that like, subscribe, and share this video to help amplify real voices, because sometimes one voice can change an entire industry.